Hey, what's up and how's it going all MRBers? I am Mike McRock for the McRock and Bolt Wrestling Review Show. And I'm so glad that you have took your time to watch this video right here today, because right now I'm about to give you my predictions for WWE's pay-per-view event this Sunday, the Royal Rumble. So the first match at the Royal Rumble event is the pre-show before the pay-per-view. It will be the New Age Outlaws taking on the Brotherhood, Cody Rhodes and Goldust, for the Tag Team Championships. And to me, like I mentioned in my Raw review, putting a championship match on the pre-show no less really devalues the championship, and this could also be potentially a really good match. And WWE decides to put it on the pre-show. That makes no logical sense whatsoever. And if this was on the actual Royal Rumble card, I would believe that the New Age Outlaws would look good and have a good transitional title run for the Tag Team Champions until WrestleMania and have them lose to the Usos. But because this match is on the pre-show, no question about it, I see Cody Rhodes and Goldust retaining the Tag Team Championships. Moving on, now at the Royal Rumble event, there's talk about a match added. There could be a possibility of AJ Lee taking on Naomi for the Divas Championship, and if that were to happen at the Royal Rumble event, I think that Naomi should be the new champion, and I will explain why. AJ Lee, as of late, has not been looking great at all. She looks fizzled out as the champion and does not look credible at all. And Naomi, like I said, is one of those few divas that would make me believe that she would be a credible opponent. And also, it's time for a change as well. It's time for something new. So with all that being said, I see Naomi becoming the new Divas Champion. Also on the show, we will see Big Show versus Brock Lesnar. My prediction is that Brock Lesnar will win this match. Absolutely no question about it. This is completely one-sided, and anyone who ever steps in the ring with Brock Lesnar is going to be taken out anyway. I would rather see Brock Lesnar to take on Mark Henry and have them two go at it based on what the two of them have been doing the past month and a half. On how Brock Lesnar took out Mark Henry through the barricade and took out his shoulder. I would have built up that storyline instead of putting Big Show in that rivalry with Brock Lesnar, because wasn't the Big Show broke like 2 months ago, and now all of a sudden we forget about that, and now he's involved with Brock Lesnar, even though they're portraying him as they should. It makes no logical sense for the Big Show to face Brock Lesnar. If anyone should face Brock Lesnar, it should be Mark Henry, for crying out loud. And with all that being said, like I said before, Brock Lesnar cleans house on the Big Show in dominant fashion. Also, we will see Bray Wyatt versus Daniel Bryan. Now, here's something interesting. I'd like to see WWE make a complete 180. Have Bray Wyatt beat Daniel Bryan. And you don't have to bury Daniel Bryan after that. What they could do is that have Daniel Bryan enter the Royal Rumble, maybe at 30, or if possible, the number 2 entrant, to make it even harder on Daniel Bryan for him to win the Royal Rumble, and then he goes on and wins the entire thing. I would love to see that. I would like to see Daniel Bryan in the first match with Bray Wyatt, have Daniel Bryan lose, only for him to go in the Royal Rumble and win the Royal Rumble. It's a complete 180. It's like a full circle moment throughout that pay-per-view. That payoff will look really, really well if it was done right. And with that being said, you don't want to bury Bray Wyatt 100% clean. So you'll want to make him look strong going into WrestleMania. So that would be the logical thing to do when it comes to booking these two matches, the Royal Rumble and the Bray Wyatt and Daniel Bryan story. Moving on to the WWE Championship match. Now, this is a match that I think feels like a filler, and that's explaining a lot for a championship match. This is the less exciting match at the Royal Rumble, the least. And with that said, I'm actually kind of torn about who I want to see win, because Randy Orton has lost a lot of credibility. The WWE makes him look like a whiny little baby, and you have John Cena, who can't even sell a segment the right way. So taking everything all into account, I won't care if the WWE puts the title on John Cena. Yet in the same time, John Cena doesn't need the title. So with that being said, I think if they have Randy Orton defeat John Cena in a clean way without moaning and complaining about anything else, he would actually look remotely good. So I hope that for Randy Orton, to have him change back into the person he once was back in 2009, the Viper, have him go over Cena in a weird, twisted, clean kind of way. That's what I think should happen at the Royal Rumble event. Now, when it comes to the Royal Rumble match, there's a few things that I see happening. One, Roman Reigns. I love to see him challenge Kane for most eliminations in a single Royal Rumble match, and have him just clean house on most of the talent that's in that match. I would like, and then shortly after that, what they could do is have both Dean Ambrose and Seth Rollins, throwing Roman Reigns out of the ring, and have Roman Reigns sell his emotions well when those two guys eliminate him. Something like that could possibly happen. Even with CM Punk, there's a storyline brewing now with him and the Authority, with Triple H. It's looking like at WrestleMania. And I could see a scenario where CM Punk can only get so far, and then someone from the Authority costs him the Royal Rumble match. Someone like the New Age Outlaws or Kane, or even Triple H himself for that matter. Have him come out uninvited and toss CM Punk over the rope. Now, I do have a theory of what the WWE could do in regards to Daniel Bryan. There's two avenues I could see happen. One, we know that Shawn Michaels will be in the pre-show talk booth, in the panel with the three guys, like they usually do before every pay-per-view, and have him, put in small little hints about Daniel Bryan this, Daniel Bryan that, throughout that whole pre-show segment. And when it comes to the Royal Rumble match, Daniel Bryan is, gaining momentum throughout the Royal Rumble match, and then Shawn Michaels comes in uninvited, sweet chin music, Daniel Bryan goes over the top rope, and then this is the start of the teacher versus student rivalry for WrestleMania, Shawn Michaels versus Daniel Bryan. Now, one could argue that Daniel Bryan should be the guy to win the Royal Rumble. Of course he does. He deserves it. But wouldn't it be really interesting to see Shawn Michaels come out of retirement to take on Daniel Bryan? Now, there's another avenue that I have a theory about as well. Now, Shawn Michaels don't have to necessarily come out of retirement to be involved in a storyline. What they could do is have Daniel Bryan win the Royal Rumble, and on the same night, or on the night after, have Shawn Michaels come out, cut a promo, basically saying like, Daniel Bryan, you don't deserve a WWE Championship match because you have not impressed me at all, and stuff like that. You know, he can go on about how Daniel Bryan should not be in the championship picture because Shawn Michaels was always the guy in the spotlight, and Daniel Bryan never got the chance to be in that spotlight. So they could develop some sort of storyline between the two of them, and at the same time with the champion, Randy Orton, if he does beat John Cena. And if that's the case, what they could do is have Daniel Bryan be torn between two matches at WrestleMania. I could see a scenario where Daniel Bryan has to choose either to face Shawn Michaels at WrestleMania if he decides to come out of retirement, or face the WWE World Heavyweight Champion Randy Orton, and make that story believable as possible and make it look interesting. It would be a great storyline revolving around the character of Daniel Bryan to make him choose between two matches. Now, you can also throw in The Undertaker as well. Daniel Bryan, he wins the Royal Rumble, decides not to face the champion, but to face The Undertaker. That would be interesting. But wouldn't it be more believable and a lot more exciting storytelling when you have Shawn Michaels in the mix and Randy Orton? Have Daniel Bryan choose between one or the other, face Shawn Michaels or face Orton. He ends up facing Orton for the WWE Championship at WrestleMania. He decides that when it's all said and done. And that's an avenue that the WWE could go. It's a long shot. The likelihood of that happening is pretty slim. But I think that story could work if it was done right. So my two questions to you is that, what are your thoughts about the Royal Rumble matches on the card? Who's going to win or who's going to lose? And also, who do you think should win the Royal Rumble this year? Whatever you think, comment below, let me know. And while you're at it, you can also follow MRB Wrestling Reviews on Twitter, subscribe to our channel on YouTube, and Make Rockabalt Wrestling Reviews on Facebook. To all you viewers watching, get plenty of rest, and always do your best. Oh, and two things before I go. One, Cody Rhodes and Goldust. Now, the Royal Rumble is a good start to build up rivalries going into WrestleMania, and have something happen between Cody Rhodes and Goldust in the Royal Rumble match would be a good place to start. Have some small seed planted. One eliminates the other. One turns heel, and the other remains a babyface. So with that being said, I'd love to see something happen between the two of them. And in a few weeks' time, they have a championship match at the Elimination Chamber pay-per-view, and they lose there as well. And that leads up to their one-on-one confrontation at WrestleMania. It could go down like that. We'll see what happens. And there's also the thought of Batista winning the Royal Rumble match. The thought of it really makes me cringe. Batista does not deserve to win the Royal Rumble match. For one thing, it's way too soon for him to win anything at this point because he just returned on Monday Night Raw from a 4-year hiatus. And that's another reason why I think, in my opinion, Daniel Bryan should be the 2014 Royal Rumble winner, period.